Hey, this is Perry Smith, KHTS News Director, and doing a special news hour, we have Steve Kim, the owner of Sand Canyon Country Club, in the studio with us. Steve, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you first get involved? It used to be called Robinson Ranch Country Club, but now it's Sand Canyon Country Club. How did you first hear about the Robinson Ranch area and come to the Santa Clarita Valley?
I see. It was about 10 years ago. And I was kind of successful entrepreneurs, and made some investments. And actually, a friend of mine was a big investor in buildings, and it's just the first one probably in the golf course. And I was I invested in partial and ownership. And there was a Robinson Ranch, and I thought, it's a beautiful country club. So after that, I actually moved back to Korea and lived there for 10 years. And as you know, that we got severe droughts, and we've been losing money for a few years. For
at the country club.
At the country club. Right. So the investors kind of tired of it, don't know what to do with it, either give it up or do something about it. So about a year ago, I took it on. Even I was living in Korea, I just felt bad about this beautiful course, just collapsing it. So it's just not to making money to come out all the way, try to make a change. It's just my passion for something new, going after something new. If there's anything I can do, that's been about a year ago.
And it's kind of interesting. You were involved in the tech industry, and you were kind of being a little modest and humble there. You say you have a little bit of success. You had a lot of success in the tech industry. You started one of the fastest growing technology companies in Los Angeles at the time, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your past life then in the tech entrepreneur field?
See. Okay. I was born in Korea back in long ago, 1949. And of course, like others, went to school, majored in engineering. In those days, or at the time, Korea didn't have much good jobs. So I came out in 1976, and I start my humble life, really humble, which means start making $2.75 an hour.
Doing what?
At the auto part warehouse. I was work as a stocker, which means moving parts coming in, I stocking away. And then the only hope I had is I have to go to school, get an engineering degree. I get the engineer. That was my dream.
Were you drawn to it? Do you enjoy math, or did you like the science of it?
I liked the math. That's why I got into the engineering. And so I had to work at night and go to school. Actually, went to California State University in Los Angeles, which is kind of nearby. And so I had a communication engineering. So I went to school at night. And it took me 3 years.
That must have been tough. So you're working during the day and then you
That's right. If I got some money, probably going to take a year and a half.
Right.
So then I graduated my degree. I went to hired as an engineer. My dream came true at the Litton Data Systems in Van Nuys.
What did you do there?
I was an engineer, but was little design work. But I don't know what I was doing it, and I felt like a little part. And of course, I want to learn a lot more to that. I want to learn a lot more, but things were moving. The pace was very slow, and I didn't know. I kind of lost myself. My self-existence was there.
How's that? Oh, you felt like you were just kind of going through the motions, if you will?
Yeah. So I said I wasn't happy, and so what can I do? And so I decided to change the job to a small company. And it was failed optical system division. In those days, data, they're transporting over instead of copper, all the copper wires, which they start translate over fiber optics.
Right.
Okay? So it's got infant stage, start moving the data over fiber. Now everything is on fiber.
Right.
So I became an engineer there, worked there, and always curious to know what our competitor does, how to be utilized. And a small company, you can really learn a lot.
Sure.
What are the businesses? And in a couple of years, I thought, if I do this, make some changes, clients can save a lot of money. So with that DOS, I raised about $100,000.
What was
move
that
into the
process
garage.
like? How did you do that? How did you convince people that you had
No,
a
I
great
got
idea?
just a couple of other Korean engineers and told about my ideas, so they chipped it in. And those days probably it's not a lot of money, but so I moved into the one of my friends' garage, and I have to show that if my concepts, ideas work. So I had to make a prototype, what you call. So
Were other people trying to do what you guys were doing, or was this? This seemed like kind of.
I mean, there's
at the
few other
time.
competitors, but as first making a startups out of garage, in those days it was very early.
Right.
Okay, very few did that.
Now you
Of course,
hear
Apple
about the
did that.
stories.
Oh
Now
yeah,
you
yeah.
hear
Of course,
about the
Steve
stories.
Jobs did that
Right,
probably
right.
earlier on,
Right.
making a computer in our garage. So, and that's why I got started.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the first company, and then once you created this way to save your clients more money, then the company just kind of took off.
Well, then of course it's a lot of hard work, no
Sure.
experience, and so I have to do myself be a salesman, engineer in the manufacturing. I did everything was possible, and with those efforts, probably timing is right, and company really did well, and so about 6 years I did that, and we sold it.
Wow.
And then what should I do? I got
Right.
$10 million in my pocket, So I didn't want to lay on the beach. So I said, what should I do? So I was working there after company sold as a CEO. I was okay, what should I do?
What was the next idea?
Next ideas, or what's the next step? And then in the early 1990s, everybody from a mini computer moved to personal computers. Everybody has little desktops,
Sure.
Apples and IBMs. They have to get connected, right? They call it networking. So in networking, I started kick it off, and we had an idea that hey, they may need more bandwidth than like 10 megabits or like a bandwidth shared by 100 people. There might be time needs comes that each person wants 10 megabit. Right now you got everyone has 100 megabits.
Right.
Okay. So with that I started a new company called Xyland, and this time I invest very heavily because everybody wants to chip in the money, right? So I raised $5 million, then I invest very heavily. 6 months we ran out, so I raised another $10 million.
Wow.
And invested in because I have all the confidence that hey, you gotta come, really, product time to market is so important, as you know.
Sure.
So, anyway, it really worked. So when I got the first product, you could make fast enough to, sell it, ship it. And 3 years we went to public in NASDAQ, and so, at the time, the market cap after the public was $3 billion. So we couldn't believe ourselves. Of course, it's very profitable. We promised we're going to grow the company 100% each year, okay? And we did that. So, then the company grew to about 1,500 people based in Calabasas. And, but it was tough. You have to hire all the time more people,
Sure.
new products, competition.
Sure.
And then I got 1999 French company Alcatel, who was actually partnering with us, rebranding our products and so on, and bought us at $2 billion. So.
And reading about some stories about that, it looked like there was some other people trying to do it, but you guys had the best company that had the best sales force and the best, at what you were doing with is it pizza box switches? Is that what
There's a pizza. There's a lot of variety. It's not just one box.
Okay.
It's a lot of different, the variety of the boxes. They can call boxes,
okay.
switches, but support many different functions in corporates and so on.
And this
it's
network
very, very complicated
Yeah,
products.
it is.
Yeah.
But then going past that, so now you had this success because Alcatel purchased your company, but then you realized that, from talking to you earlier that, the money wasn't what you were seeking all that time, right?
Well, I mean, those success was measured by how much you made.
Sure.
Right? So I done that, and of course I was happy, and because the end results was good. Everybody was
fruits of your
happy.
labor,
I get
yeah.
respected, and names out, and so I made many of them are millionaires, and then what? I got time and money. So first time in my life, kind of try to enjoy it. Bought a big house in Hornby and 20,000 square foot house and 11 bathrooms, and I threw a lot of parties. I became a board of director of the LA Opera.
Oh, right.
So it's kind of high society. Always the invite the people, wine and dine, and plus always a salon concert. We have a concert at home. I did that, and and then we can go anywhere to play a lot of golf. And but in about 6 months, I says, I wasn't happy anymore. In the morning, what should I do next? Who should I meet? I got too much time.
Well, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
before that 6-month part, what was your favorite part once you got to start to enjoy the fruits of all that labor that you had done?
Say again, please.
Your favorite part of enjoying the success?
Or just the freedom. I mean,
The freedom.
I don't have no more pressures whatsoever.
Sure.
Okay, and running a business, you have to meet every month, each quarter's targets, and also still you got to always worry about beyond that. It's just unbelievable pressure.
Very stressful, sure.
So I thought, life was good, but no stress,
But-
no goals in place.
Right.
Then I wasn't happy with it.
Right, and that's what you were saying. You told me. So then, was that when you went back to Korea? the
Yeah,
first
then
time?
I said hey, there was something, I could do more meaningful things to do. Back in 1997, I set up the STEVE.Y.KIM Foundation. Whoever successful entrepreneur set aside the money,
Sure.
tax-free, and doing for some good things. So I've been contributing to community here. UCLA, I gave $1 million, and I was doing a scholarship, started the foundation back in 2000 Korea. So I kind of remotely managed. I have employees working for it. So I think I could probably use my money better, wisely. So I went there and did expand those.
Let me
And,
ask you this:
yeah.
what was the first thing for the STEVE.KIM Foundation? Were you also trying to support entrepreneurs, or what were you trying to do?
No,
with that?
actually, another thing was not supporting with my money. And once I got out, sold it, I set up the venture capital firms. Architect Ventures, right? Raised about $100 million.
Right.
Start invested in. I thought I could do very well, but year 2000 when bubble starts,
Right.
there's too much money
Right.
and too many, entrepreneurs. Right. Piece of paper. I can do this. I can do that, and so timing wasn't right. So I kind of wrapped it up, returned the money to the investors. So then what should I do?
Right.
Okay. So try that for a short time.
Yeah. And then, but you said you went back to Korea and you started to give back
What do you mean? Get back to?
to other people. Like you started to use your money to help people.
Yeah, I do that. But but when I'm helping out, I actually employees. We have find the needy people. We're giving things out. So it's not like a day to day. I gotta work and something to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So still there's kind of void in my life. Then I published a book called Dream, Hope, Future. That is the name of the foundation, and was a bestseller. Of course, then I was invited to many places for lecturing, motivational speech, and each 1 year I did 200 times and
Wow.
showed in many TVs, interviews.
Let me ask you
And-
this:
yes.
what was the book about? What was the main lessons that you were
About
telling?
my story?
Okay.
About my life story, gone through, humble stars and hybrid up, and what I did and to be successful. And it's just how I get to successful, what I learned from those process, right? And so those kind of, very educational,
Sure.
motivational.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what do you share when you were doing these speaking engagements? What kind of message were you trying to get across to the people you were talking to?
Well, because there's a lot of, it's just hard to say.
Sure.
Yeah, but, someone is just a very detailed, honest, okay? And honest, just you got to show by doing it, not just telling it. And also just try to learn every day, right? By asking questions, for instance. So, those things, just like right now today, I work 7 days a week literally. And then, Sand Canyon Country Club. I go to work about 6:37, and I stay there until 7, 8, 9, 7 days a week. Okay.
And what I've noticed, though,
Yes.
Steve, it's funny you say that, and I hear you laughing. And when you talk about Sand Canyon Country Club, I can see you smile. And when you talk about some of the things that you do there, it seems like the thing that I notice when I interview people like yourself that have reached that kind of success, they all enjoy the work. They all enjoy being there a
Sure,
lot
make
and
it
doing what they're
difference.
doing, right?
Make it difference, and you know that you're kind of achieving something. And what's the most, happiness? I mean, I'm doing this for my own happiness, okay? Is when people say, wow, okay? They say, clapping you and
When you see the
that kind of
excitement of the people on the golf
oh, yeah,
course.
that's what it makes me keep going, right? So I want to show more and more,
Sure.
want to do better and better, right? Just like a little kid.
Well,
That keeps me going.
Just like going copper to fiber optic.
Yes.
You're making products better.
That's right. So anyway, something is hard, very tough. When I took over this Sand Canyon Country Club, making a change, now I start to see the light in the tunnel, and people come in, they're so happy to see. Okay.
well, and you were talking to me
Yeah.
when I was visiting the course, and it's a beautiful course. You were talking to me about how the people had really embraced the changes, and the community had embraced you naming it Sand Canyon, and those changes that you were making to make it part of the community.
Sure.
But can you talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges that you had to overcome? Because I know where we are. It's a hot spot, and you're basically making a desert course, right?
Yeah, but name change wasn't that difficult.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But just changing it from extreme drought, then few big storm.
Sure.
I mean, fire.
Right. We had the fires.
Then we got the storms.
The summer after you
storm was water's good, but too much storm we got mudslides about 3 times. We had the little bridge it was completely buried.
So it brought
Couldn't
stuff onto the course?
Oh, it's just whole creeks are filled with the mud.
Wow.
So we cleaned up, then another storm hit. So we had to go through it, and we're still cleaning up. And so of course, anything is huge projects.
Right.
And I hired the some who thought the architects of the desert course.
Sure.
And it was a complete lie. So after about 2 months, I fired them, and I started taking on my own. So
Really?
I'm designers and project managers and executing many details.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
When you were looking at the course and making the changes, how hands-on were you involved in that
Of
actual
course, I
process?
have to be because I'm the golfer.
Oh, okay.
When you golf,
Right.
as a golfer, what it is, accommodation. Okay, still a little challenge with accommodation. When it's too
Right.
tough, when you're losing 10 balls,
No,
okay,
that
they
was
don't
your-
want to come back. That's
Right.
why I start to build there's like a few lakes, and when it's dry, it's completely almost dried, and almost very little water, and it contaminated. Mosquitoes grow, cattails.
Sure.
So with the storm, when I pull everything out, oh my goodness, it's huge and deep. So to accommodate it, I built the walls around. It become a huge lake. Okay, what I do with this huge? We don't have water to fill in. So that's why we bring a lot of dirt in. And I don't know if you've seen that recently. Then we made a rock channels, and about 20% we put the waters in. We circle around and put the palm trees around. Probably for that is probably brought in about 200-300 truckloads of dirt from outside. And
Just
I
to
gotta
re-landscape the whole lake.
yeah,
or the
you got to
ponds.
bring the dirt in, and neighbor complained, and city tried to stop us, and that's why I went to the city today.
So what you're doing is making the golf course more sustainable in the long run and making it more drought tolerant, as well as making it more
I mean,
playable.
when it's even droughts, I don't have a problem with, water get drought out and filthy and all that. It's because always circulating, much more beautiful.
Sure.
And also building up the wall, the ball doesn't get the rain, fairway much
Stay in
wider
bounds, right.
and also stay in bounds. And also, if you come out, I mean, it's just beautiful.
Well, that's what you were also saying is obviously it's a beautiful course, but it's a lot more playable now. That's what I'm hearing is that people are losing fewer balls, and you can go through and you were sharing as a previous person involved in Robinson Ranch, that it was players were getting frustrated, and that's why you want to make the changes.
That's right. And also, when owner's not involved in managing it, the investor was a friend of mine, has a conglomerate. He got 100-some buildings he had to manage. Golf course is a little part of it, okay?
Sure.
So he doesn't play golf.
Oh.
So let someone else to manage, when the owner's not involved, okay? So I think there's a lot of the mismanagements are probably unmanaged, and there's a lot of waste, and just people there for doing much nothing. So I came in there, not just a golf course, change the whole work cultures and bring right people in, get the cost down, efficiencies up, just like a business.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. We have to take a quick commercial break,
Sure.
and then I want to talk about some of the changes that you have planned too, because you've already made some, but we have
All
some
right.
exciting stuff coming up, right?
Very good.
All right,
Yes.
we'll be right back
Yeah.
on this KHTS Special News Hour
Sure.
with your host, KHTS News Director Perry Smith.
Okay.